Hey, what's happening, everyone? Welcome to another exciting edition of Awkward Situations, the series where you guys write comments about awkward situations that are happening or that have happened to you in the past, embarrassing stories, or anything else you want to talk about in the comment section below. And then I take a few of those comments and I talk about them in these episodes of Awkward Situations that you're watching right now, and I appreciate you for watching. Hey, are you bored of Call of Duty? I'm playing Call of Duty in this video. You might not even like Call of Duty if you watch this series. The series doesn't have much to do with Call of Duty other than it's the most commonly used gameplay in the background of Call of Duty. But I've been seeing that sentiment a lot on my Twitter timeline. I do follow many people who talk about video games, so it's funny how our bubbles can exist and we can think that everyone's having the same conversation, but I just follow a lot of people with similar interests to me. And if I were to walk around the grocery store, I don't think I'd be hearing Norma in the vegetable aisle saying, Call of Duty's really boring this year. But on Twitter, it's something I'm seeing discussed often amongst my internet friends or just general internet people that I am interested in. Call of Duty is, quote, boring this year. It is the most boring of the good Call of Duties, or it is the worst of the best Call of Duties. That similar sentiment. And I'm wondering if that is a product of what's actually happening in the game, what happens in the game. There was a lack of maps on release and any other thing you could complain about. Or is that a product of the time that we live in when there are so many video games out that people want to play? Consoles are more powerful, there's more options, there's virtual reality, PCs are more affordable, people play PC games more often now, and Battle Royale is a huge genre, multiple games in that genre that have popped up, that have become popular, that were not popular in Call of Duty's quote-unquote heyday, while I would assume, just based on my previous experience playing Call of Duty games, that this is not the best Call of Duty game. I'm wondering if this Call of Duty came out in 2012, maybe immediately after Modern Warfare 2 or around Black Ops 2 time, what the response to it would be. I feel like we are just so lucky to be living in this age when we have so many options for video games and for media. I mean, I have a list on my phone. This is so embarrassing. And well, it's not embarrassing, but it's just something I take note of in my daily life. All of the television shows and movies that I want to watch and that I want to catch up on. And I don't watch a lot of television and movies because I spend so much time playing video games. That's probably my favorite entertainment medium. Not probably, it's definitely my favorite entertainment medium. And I watch movies and television with my wife when I can. She works full-time. I guess I work full-time, if you can call this a full-time job. There's not a lot of time to watch movies and television, and there's so many options, so many more than ever before. Back in the day, there used to be just a couple of television channels, and then in the early 2000s, there's cable, but there aren't as many prestige television options, and now there's multiple streaming services with multiple television shows and multiple movies being released at one time. It's so much. I remember in 2009, Jesus, who is texting me so much? I really got to turn my phone off before I record, but what I was saying on my little rant is that in 2009, my power went out for 5 days, and I walked around. I've shared this story before. I walked around the grocery store a bunch, and I wouldn't have to do that now. And oh my God, technology's so cool, Joel. You're so fucking old. All right, let's get to our update right now. The first and only update says, update, hey nobody, about 7 months ago, I told my awkward situation, and I was featured. I don't know if you remember or anybody remembers, but I'm sure at least one person does. I had a friend that had a new girlfriend, and I joked about him having another girl on a Skype call. His girl got all sensitive and almost broke up with him that night. It's funny because now a couple months later, she cheated on him. So yikes. Anyway, I just want to give a huge update. Thanks, man. Keep it up. Well, that's great. Well, wait. No, that's not great. That's not good stuff. She didn't sound like the perfect match to begin with, getting sensitive over something you joked about. Although friends of girlfriends who have girlfriends, there we go. You got to be careful what you say around people. You got to know the crowd you're talking to. I can say really inappropriate jokes around some friends, and then some friends I got to kind of walk on eggshells a little bit. Got to be careful with things. So it doesn't matter now. She cheated on him. That's unfortunate, but I'm glad to have the update. I hope your friend downloaded Tinder and is having a great time with his and or her life. Let's get on to the awkward situations right now. Actually, before I get into the awkward situation, I just realized I said his and or her for an awkward situation I knew was about a he, but it's 2018, so that doesn't matter. First awkward situation. Hey, Joel. So basically, I'm 16 and a junior in high school. I played football since I was 8, and I was always a starting quarterback. I led my team to 5 straight undefeated seasons. However, I've lost interest in football. The passion that was once there is now gone, and I thought about quitting for a while. I talked to my friends about it, but they all said to play because it's my last year, but people don't realize the work you need to put in. With that being said, I am not lazy. I just don't like football. I brought this up to my mom, and she started crying. My parents are really disappointed in me for not doing something I hate, which I will never understand. They haven't talked to me in over a week, and I don't know what to do. Any advice will help. Thank you. Well, first of all, I got to say, your parents sound a little insane. I am not a parent of a child, and I try not to judge parents because I have no perspective for what being a parent feels like and the disappointment and joy you can get from parenting. So I try to be really careful when judging parents in public or in forums like this. I could not see not speaking to my child because they didn't want to play football anymore. That's kind of insane. How much personal enjoyment do you put into the sports that your child plays? Clearly a lot if it's so earth-shattering that your child doesn't want to play that sport anymore that you won't talk to them for a week. I hope you're exaggerating there. I mean, even if you are, the fact that they would be very sad over that is disappointing. But what you're going through is normal. From the outside looking in, from being past high school, I'll say that I've changed my interests many times over the course of high school and many times since then. It's a normal fact of life, especially as you're aging into your 20s. And then once you get past your 20s, you tend to have a better sense of what you're interested in. But your interests change over time always, probably most frequently between the ages of 18 and 30. You're getting a real sense of what you like to do. And that's normal. From my perspective, I would say if you feel even an inkling of wanting to play, you want to play the games, you're just not excited about the preparation, you maybe should push through that just to play the game, because once you get past high school, I find the thing I miss most about high school is organized sports. It is a lot harder to find time and just literally the organized part of organized sports, to find clubs, to find people that are also willing to give up their time in the busy, quote-unquote, adult life in the quote-unquote real world. You don't find that as easily as you do in high school. So if there's even a small part of you that wants to play and you just have some self-doubt or you don't want the pressure, I would say to try to push through that or try to work out exactly what you don't like about the sport, because you can't have it once it's gone. It's like you said, your last year. If you feel like there's even a small part of you that's going to regret not playing, I would really advise that you think about what you're feeling and why you feel that way. Now, if you've already resolved this within yourself and you feel like, I don't find any part of me inside that wants to play football at all, it's not something I'm excited about, I understand why I don't like it, that's also fine. It's unfortunate that your parents reacted that way. Hopefully they'll get over it, because you're going to have a very long life, and in the span of a lifetime, what you did in high school sports is a very, very small blip. A conversation that I've often had or heard secondhand as an adult is what I would call reliving the glory days of high school. And this is one of my least favorite conversations to participate in or overhear. Not because I didn't have a great time in high school, I just find it very cringy because people put high school on such a high pedestal and that time in your life on such a high pedestal. And for many good reasons, it's a part of your life where you're almost fully formed socially, although you do change a lot in your 20s. You like pretty much the same music that you liked in high school all the way through the rest of your life. There's just a lot of important things that happen during that time, and it's a wonderful, amazing time in your life. But it's 4 years out of a life that will hopefully be 80 plus years. Your mind cannot fathom how long that is. And if you're still rehashing these specific 4 years of your life, 10, 15, 20 years later, I just don't like it. And I really don't know why. Like I said, I had a great time in high school. I don't know why this conversation bothers me, but I like talking about what I'm doing now. I may have a more difficult time explaining what I'm doing now. When people hit me with the "what are you doing with your life" question, I don't necessarily know, but Maybe that's motivation for me to try to figure out what I'm doing with my life and be proud of what I'm doing now. I'm sure in my 30s, I'll be having conversations about children and how raising children is. I just don't want to have that same conversation about high school over and over again, and you're going to feel that same way. Although, again, I will caution you, if you feel like you're going to regret it at all, do it, because you cannot have it once it's gone. I'm a 27-year-old male who still dreams about high school days and still dreams about playing basketball. I'm sure I always will, because, like I said, it's a really coveted time in my life. It's not something I like to converse about because I like to try to move forward in my life. I think that's a positive thing to building yourself, but you just need to do what you want to do, really think about it, and everyone will get over it. You know, however your friends feel about it, it doesn't matter. It's 4 years of your life. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. You're not going to see 98% of those friends after you graduate high school anyway. So if you want to play football just even a little bit, I would advise doing it. Otherwise, I think you can figure out how to navigate that without too much repercussions or too many repercussions. And I hope your parents can get over this very earth-shattering, devastating time in their lives. Next, awkward situation. I used to be a bigger kid all through high school. I was just kind of there, not really the popular kid. When I graduated, I went to college for 2 weeks and then dropped out. Now I have a full-time job with really good benefits and all that good stuff. Since I graduated, I lost 35 pounds and started lifting, and I got pretty big. Like, I look totally different from what I did 3 years ago. A lot of people talk shit on me when I dropped out and for being lazy and basically being the kid with a gut. Now that I'm doing better and a person financially and physically, people still talk their shit, and I've been accused of taking steroids. The awkward part is I have an alumni event this year that I always enjoy attending because I played drums in high school, and it's another chance for me to relive that. To all the people I'm going to see that talk shit, how do I respond? Do I just ignore them, show them I'm better now, or do I just kind of tell them to fuck off? Thanks for your help. Keep up the great work. You said keep up the good work. I exaggerated that. Love you, Papa Daddy Joel. Well, I didn't do this purposefully, but this is kind of turning into a reliving high school episode or talking about things that happen in high school. And this is another interesting situation. What you are in high school does not define you past high school. Very often, you change a lot. It's really cool to have Facebook in this day and age and see what people I went to high school with are doing, see how they've changed, see how they haven't changed. And clearly you've changed a lot. It's unfortunate that people still talk shit about you or think about you in a negative light at all. I think that says more about them than it does about you, that they spend time thinking about. Once again, this relates to the reliving the past conversation. If you spend too much time thinking about what other people from your high school are doing, that's very unfortunate that that's how you choose to spend your day. I had this vision of success in my head, especially when I was starting out on YouTube and I started to gain a little bit of a following and get mildly what I would call internet famous. I had this vision of going to my 10-year high school reunion, and I would pull up in a Ferrari or some expensive car, one that I could fit into. I don't know a lot about cars, but I know I don't fit into most of them because I'm a tall, awkward human. And I would get out, and I would be wearing expensive clothes and expensive jewelry, and everyone would just look at me and go, wow, there's Joel. He was so successful after high school. That's so amazing. I look up to Joel. And as I've aged and matured, I've realized that is not success at all. That is not what success means to me. In the years where I've been most successful on YouTube, statistically, I have been the most miserable because of how much I cared about being successful. I think it's important to be driven for whatever your passion is, your passion for fitness that you talk about, your passion for drums. It's important to have things that drive you in life, have reasons to get out of bed beyond just basic life necessities of needing to feed yourself and others around you, to have passions in life that makes us human, that makes us have a drive to do more than just survive, to add to the world and have those interests to chase. I think I'm getting away from this awkward situation. What I wanted to come around to, if we can come back to the topic at hand, is that I think you should ignore them. Because if you feed into the interest of needing to say fuck you to the people that talked shit about you in high school and or are currently talking shit about you, then you're playing their game. You're doing what they're doing. You're thinking about the past and thinking about how you can vindicate the past by what you're doing in the present. And I don't think the past needs to be vindicated. I don't think the past needs to be relived or relitigated. What you're doing now is what you're doing now. If they're living in the past, that's their problem. You don't have to go down to their level to feel happiness. I don't think it would make you feel happy to say fuck you to some of those people. Maybe it would. I'm not you. Maybe that would be nice if Tommy came up to you and he was like, hey, your biceps are looking good. Great drumming tonight. And you were like, fuck you, Tommy. Suck a dick. Suck a dick for sticking me in the locker in 7th grade. But I'm not you. Maybe that'll make you feel good. You're going to have to judge that for yourself. I just don't think it would make you feel good. I've learned that success to me is a happy wife, a warm house, great friends, great entertainment. It's not a bank account. It's not how many numbers am I doing. The numbers don't make you successful. For every number I've hit financially or statistically on YouTube, I've learned that the next number would make me happier and so on and so forth, to the point where I've learned that there's no number that would make me feel successful. Only the circumstances in my life, friends and family, and how I'm personally feeling about what I'm doing make me feel successful. If I had 3 million subs, if I had 5 million subs, what number are you successful at? Maybe I'm successful now. Maybe I was successful at 100,000 subs. It's so personal, and what you are doing in your life is what you're doing, and they can worry about their life. If they're busy worrying about yours, I guess that says something about you, and of course something about them. So that's my advice. Ignore them. But if you want to say fuck you to Tommy, do that too. Whenever I need to think of a random name, Tommy's the only name that comes into my head. I don't even know a Tommy in my real life. Let's go on to the next awkward situation right now. This actually isn't an awkward situation. It's a question, and the question says, I got asked at an interview, tell a time you had a unique solution to a problem. Anyone ever got that question? How did/would you answer it? And I really like the top reply. Back when I worked for NASA, the Apollo 13 crew needed a way to adapt 2 different fitting air filters together using only the tools and materials they had in space. In our replica of the ship, the other engineers and I came up with a large box, which ultimately worked. We saved what was left of the Apollo 13. And if you're not familiar with history or movies, that is the real-life event of what happened with the Apollo 13 spacecraft. It was also a movie starring Tom Hanks. So today I just learned Tom Hanks watches my YouTube videos. Thank you so much, Tom. Big fan of your work, and I appreciate you replying to this comment. In my response to this comment, I would say, well, let's just act like I'm in the interview. If I got asked that question, the first thing that comes to mind is when I was working at the golf course, and yes, I did work at a golf course, I made some advertisements. I wanted to make the advertisements around the office look way cooler for tournaments that happen at the golf course, like best ball tournaments or 3-person elimination. I don't know, like whatever tournaments that happen at a golf course. And the posters for them were so bland. They were like handwritten, and they had pull tabs to where you could pull to enter. So I got on my computer with my little Photoshop in high school knowledge, and I made some cool advertisements. And I asked my boss if I could put those up. I thought they would be more eye-catching and we would get more entrants. So it wasn't necessarily a problem. It was a problem that I saw in my own head. It wasn't like a pipe leaking from the roof that was so obvious. It's subtle things like that the interviewer is looking for in these questions. This is a big part of my dad's job. He interviews a lot of people at his position, at his job. So whenever I had a job interview, I would have him kind of just quiz me with very, very common job interview questions, and then I would give my answer, and he would tell me if it was good or if it was bad and what he was specifically looking for by asking that question. And for this one, you can expand the scope of the question to include times you were creative at work, and like in my example, a time you solved a problem that wasn't necessarily there. It was more a personal problem I had at work, and obviously I asked my boss for permission to put up the new flyers after I showed them to her, and she really liked them. She thought that was really cool that I did that, and I got to make more flyers in the future, so it kind of expanded my job in a way. But the most important thing to remember with any interview question, even if you don't have a great answer and you feel like you gave a bad answer on the spot, is for whatever the question is, the interviewer is mostly looking to see how you respond to being flustered and how you respond to conversing socially, especially in a customer service job, which is what a lot of jobs are for my audience demographic. I would assume the 18 to 20 demographic or even younger. You're mostly going to be looking for customer service jobs to start out, or jobs where you need to take simple commands from a boss. And these interview questions are designed to show the person interviewing you how you respond socially. If you're trying to solve the problem in your head, if you get flustered, if you give short answers, if you're not a very social person at all, that will be shown by your answers to these questions. The answers aren't so important. It's just looking people in the eye and being as honest as you can be. Don't get too flustered by a question. Give the best answer possible. Just be very polite and smile, and you should be good for 99% of job interviews. So I hope that works out, and thanks again to Tom Hanks for watching my videos. Last awkward situation today. Hi, Joel. The situation isn't too awkward, but it has been bothering me lately at my school, and I'm sure plenty of others. E-cigs/vaping has been a really big thing. All my friends do it and want me to. My issue is that I do not want to get addicted to nicotine, obviously, and I don't want to take any risk because I get addicted to things really easily. I was one of those kids who got addicted to CS gambling and spent $1,000 on his mom's credit card. With all being said, I feel that this is separating me from good friends who are good kids doing the wrong things. They call me a cuck or a pussy if I don't want to take a hit. How should I navigate this? I don't want to lose these friends, so I can't just stop hanging out with them. I feel like I've done this one before. Maybe this one has been commented multiple times, and I just capped both comments, and I did it a while ago, and now I'm doing it again. Or I've just read it so many times because it's been in my folder. But either way, it's important to cover how senseless and meaningless peer pressure is. If I've done this one before, I'm sorry. I just now reading it, I'm wondering if I've done it before. But I can think of many times in my life where I've lost friends because I wasn't interested in the same things as those friends anymore. And I don't lose sleep at night because I don't have those friends anymore, because they were, quote, good friends doing the wrong things. I hate to sound so callous and cold about it, but if people's interests aren't matching your interests and you have to be concerned about what's happening to you yourself while hanging out with those friends, that should be your foremost concern. What you're doing in your own life and the negative things that are happening because of your hanging out with those friends. And if not hanging out with those friends equals a more positive outcome in your life, although I guess losing friends is a negative outcome. But like I said, I've had many friends who have gotten into drugs, who have gotten into this or that when I was younger. And obviously we parted ways. I've met up with some of them in later life, and we're on a more even plane now. You find your way back to some people, and if they're really good friends, you'll find your way back to them. But as I've stated before, since this is the high school episode apparently, you just don't see most people past high school. You don't see a lot of people. Everyone goes and does their own things. I would say I'm good friends with one person I went to high school with at this point. And I had a lot of friends in high school. I'm not trying to brag. I just think that's the reality. I'm not a super social person, so I guess you're seeing that through my biased construct of friendship in high school. But I just don't think it's worth being friends with people who vape, because vaping is not cool. No, it just, if you don't want to do something, just don't do it. I mean, you'll find a new friend group. There's so many friends. It just, you don't have to fall into that peer pressure. So many people fall into that, and it's unfortunate. And I've fallen into it myself. And then I come out on the other side thinking, why did I do that? I just did that because other people wanted me to do it. It made me feel like shit. So I think you will be happier in your life if you don't fall into the peer pressure. Sorry if I've done that one before, but I do a lot of similar awkward situations, and we come back around to the same topics. I don't know if I mentioned this at the start. I had to record my intro a couple of times because I often trip over my words, and I want my intro to at least sound concise and clear if the rest of the video doesn't. But it's okay if I talk about the same topics, because I've realized that you change so much in your 20s. From when I started doing this series to me now feels like a completely different person. So I might have a different perspective on something if I talk about it a few months later, and definitely a few years later. You know, me at 22 would have a different outlook on a question than me at 27, going on 28 this year. I think you'll find that too. I think you guys will find that some of these problems don't feel like problems anymore. You'll have new problems. You'll have new solutions to the same old problems. All this stuff. It's good. It's life. It's what we're talking about. I hope you enjoyed this awkward situations episode. I got some awkward situations in my folder that have been sitting there for a while. I got one in particular I was thinking that I should do today that I will probably do next episode, but I need some more awkward situations and more things to talk about. So if you guys don't mind, I would appreciate those comments. Thanks so much for watching. And until next time, bye-bye.